Welcome to Wide Flank.
All right. Hello and welcome to Wide Flank. I'm Teddy and I'm here with Lon.
Hello.
Lon's a fantasy soccer sage, a guru, you might even say. And also Danny.
Yellow. I'm joined here with my co-star Launch Octopus.
Thanks.
And that gives you a preview of what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, Danny's probably the best gamer I know. So that's his superlative. Best action gamer that I know. Alon, is there like a guy in sports who like can play, who's like at the top of two separate sports? Like, is there like a football player and baseball player?
Yeah, they don't let athletes do that anymore because they invest too much in the player and the risk of injury is too great. But yeah, I mean, Bo Jackson is like the standard answer.
Yeah,
absolutely. Best running back in the NFL, and then the rest of the year he would play a bit like 100 out of the 162 games in outfield and hit 30 home runs.
That is so fucking awesome.
Absolute god. I mean, this is a Bo Jackson episode now, but the reason he got severely injured and basically ended his career is because he was like literally too strong. And the biggest linebacker in the league was trying to tackle him, and he was just dragging him. And he pulled his hip out of his socket because he's just too strong.
Holy shit! Yeah, that's Danny. Yeah, that's
Danny.
Yeah, Bo Jackson's good, but he probably's like bad at chess or something. So, and that's where you pick up. Alon got a 19 ascension in Slay the Spire. So
yeah. True.
So in this episode, we're discussing Mega Man X, which is our latest Game Club project and what we've been playing for the past month. So if you want to join us for the next Game Club, we'll post links in the show notes to our Discord and social media. And if you want to argue with us or give us feedback or just hang out and talk to us, because we're like really cool, as you'll see in this episode, hang out with us in the Discord. Okay, cool. So, Danny, tell us about Launch Octopus and your relationship so far.
So we played Mega Man X. I don't know how both of you played it for sure. I played the PS4 Legacy Collection. Mega Man X came out originally in 1993, published and developed by Capcom. It's not the first Mega Man game. The first game came out in 1987, and there's been it's formed this huge franchise with 29 like main title releases between the Mega Man and Mega Man X series. The Mega Man X was like hugely well received by critics, save for a few points of contention, and players at the time of its release. It's like a huge nostalgia trip for people, including a lot of our Discord members and listeners who really pushed this to the top of our game list. And it's frequently included in top 100 games of all time lists. Very well loved, like many of the other games we've played so far. And yeah.
Thank you, Danny. That was beautiful.
Absolutely love that part of every episode. What am I going to learn about the game that I spent 3 weeks playing?
Yeah.
I didn't play on PS4. I played on Telemelt with a legally obtained ROM, and everything was totally very legal and very cool.
That's so sick that it was like legal and cool.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome. How'd you guys like it? Where do you want to start, Ted?
So yeah, I think it's probably a good idea to start with the controls, but I think on that note, I got the Legacy Collection as well, and people talk about retro games having really bad input lag or frame delay, and it was like really noticeable on PlayStation. Like I played on Telemelt and I felt really good and solid. And then when I played on console, I was like way behind everything that was happening on screen. And then when I went back to Telemelt, I felt really dialed in again. And I think the problem is I switched back and forth. So Danny, you probably were fine just playing it there. And that was just like how the game felt. But that's just something to like flag as a potential difference.
I mean, yeah, that to me is enough reason to be like, don't play the Legacy Collection, almost, because the movement is, in my opinion, is the best part of the game. The feeling of the game, just sort of it's the thing you immediately connect with when you pick it up. The kinetic motion, the tactile feel of the movement. You sort of like, what I wrote down is you sort of enter almost a flow state, right, when you pick the game up, where the controller is just becomes an extension of your hands. It's like that seamless that like your brain is sending messages directly to the screen as to like what to do, like the wiggling and the wall jumping and the height of your jumps and all that stuff just feels like incredible. But yeah, if there was any input lag or anything, I would have really hated this game, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think like I still think some of the things would hold. Like I think the wall jump is something that feels really good. I feel like you're really sticky, which I really like. Like I really like the effect of like the smoke coming off of it as you slide down. I think the like sliding still feels really good. Like sliding and jump, or not sliding, dashing and jumping.
Yeah.
Like that. Just being able to execute, having your character do that. Like walking is kind of slow and you feel heavy, but still solid. It doesn't feel like bad. But then when you're able to like quickly turn that into just like a flying jump, it just feels really distinct and awesome. And like you're executing like a very different execution or something.
Yeah, I mean, you feel like I played the majority of the game with no power-ups and the original weapon, and I think part of the appeal for me and why I leaned into that, is that a word? Leaned? Why I leaned into that was because this felt so good, and when you play the first boss or whatever boss you start on, you get to choose which boss you start on. Like, I knew I could beat it without any help. You know, like everything is very beatable because you can play it perfectly and you can dodge everything, even though it's really fucking hard. So I think just like having that in the back of my head was like, that's what made me want to be like, I can master this and I'm going to master this. And I beat 98% of the game without anything. So yeah.
Yeah, there's something about something we talked about in our like earlier episode, like our earlier conversation was like everything's really big. Like the projectiles are big, the enemies are big, you're big. It's kind of a criticism I have of it, but in terms of like you can't see the full like world space, but it also makes like each encounter with like a boss very clear. You're never hit with like a ton of projectiles at once.
Yeah.
Or if you are, it's like because you're like speeding through the game. It's like you were saying, it's very fair in that sense. And you can be like, I'm going to jump over this. I'm going to, run back so that the projectile spreads apart so I can like worm my way through like in the chameleon fight or something.
Right.
To already start the references, but that just like reminds me a lot of Doom in that sense. Like everything, you have time to see and react to things as they're coming at you. It's very rare. I mean, there are some enemies or some bosses where there's some like something you can't do anything about. But yeah, definitely, no matter how frustrated I was always like, I could have jumped over that, or like I could have done these 2 dashes during that fight and I wouldn't have died.
Right. It's the projectile versus hit scan thing.
Right.
Is there, I was actually thinking as you were saying that, is there any like 2D games where like there's hit scan weapons, right? That's like something that's so, probably something to think about like as we play more 2D games, but like you're able to, you're really able to read the game space, right? And then react versus like GoldenEye, right? Where you're just like peeking around a corner
just got
or something.
headshotted.
Yeah, right.
Instantly headshotted. Yeah.
That's interesting. I'll be thinking about it the rest of the episode.
Right. Like I think there are some sections where it's like a laser shoots it in a line, which is like a projectile. It's like a hit scan, but it's because you can like jump over it and like hover or something.
And like you see it like charging up or something like that. It gives you enough warning. I think that's an interesting thing because it probably coincided with like, as graphics get better, I think game designers as a whole are like, well, let's make it more and more real, which I think is bad in a lot of instances. and like trying to make it feel real and slower, and guns being hit scan is probably comes from that. But I also similarly thought of Doom, like Danny was saying. You know, Bacon's question was, is there a way for this game to improve and exist as something new in 2021? Or was it more or less at its point of perfection in 93? And Doom is what I thought of in sort of like a reverse engineering way, because we all loved Doom 2016, which also focuses on that sort of like kinetic movement. You have to keep moving at all times, executes to perfection. But if you were to imagine Doom 2016 as a 2D Super Nintendo side scroller, it's not that dissimilar to Mega Man X. Like
it is Mega Man X. Yeah.
It is basically Mega Man X, like with your different weapons and all that stuff, and have to keep moving and dodging and moving and dodging and killing. And it's like every screen is a new arena in a weird way like that. It's sort of similar. So that was sort of what I thought of. And then the other spectrum of more contemporary game that I thought of was sort of like, yeah, totally opposite, was like Super Meat Boy. And like Mega Man X isn't a platformer, but to me, something like Super Meat Boy like would strip out a lot of the stuff that I think we all probably didn't love about Mega Man X, like combat and shooting and charging your shot and that kind of stuff that actually slow the game down. Even though they wanted to make a fast-paced game, all that stuff actually slows it down and is negative. And Super Meat Boy is like, just get rid of all that shit and just focus on what's amazing, which is the movement, the stickiness, the ability to dodge, the speed. And so it was like those two games are what came to mind for me.
Yeah, Danny, are there any like quintessential or like peak platformers for you, or where you feel like you are really in control of the character? Do you have anything like that? Because I feel like you're later to the scene than us.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of like my platformers I love, I think of Little Big Planet, which
is not that.
Is not that. Yeah, there are some things about like the way you can grab and throw and move things around and interact with the world, but I think I do love Towerfall. Like really satisfying movement, and that's not a platformer, but yeah, just like wall riding and jumping and dashing through the air.
That the wall riding and that, like the wall sliding and that is like really solid. Like,
and catching arrows is super satisfying, and really it feels like you've done something well. So,
yeah, for that's like a really good one. I've thought a lot about Little Big Planet as like the polar opposite, but still a good game. But right. It's like floaty, slippery. You can't tell what the hitbox is. But Mario 64 is always the one that's for me. It's like, this is one of the best games ever because I feel like I'm Mario. Like I can do the reverse, the side flip. I can do the wall jumps, the triple flip. I just feel like totally in control with Mario, in a way that the other Marios that didn't feel the case for. And I went back and played some of the old Mega Mans, and they're interesting, but they're not this, right? They don't feel really good to be the person. They don't feel good to be Rockman. And so
yeah, it's worse. It's definitely a point where I think you can see the influence of Mega Man X, but as it just focusing on Mega Man X, I feel like it missed. Like I was saying before, like it wants so badly to be a fast-paced game. There's like shredding metal, there's dodging, there's dashing, there's wall sliding and wall jumping and jump dashing and all of this shit. But then they like run into themselves because they, I don't know, I guess felt like that to stay true to the old Mega Man stuff of basically you should never advance the screen without holding your charge shot. So I'm standing still holding my charge shot after I clear every screen. Like enemies, when you leave a screen and come back, enemies reappear and you're like, oh fuck, I have to do this again. Like Teddy was saying, it's so zoomed in.
Hate that.
Yeah, hate that. It's so zoomed in, you can't tell what's ahead of you, which inherently slows down the game because you never know what's around the corner. And it's, again, like it's just bad playing to not like charge up a shot because something's going to be in your face immediately and you just kill it in one shot if you charge. So it's like, those things all clash with the idea of being this like shredding metal game, like a Super Meat Boy, where you're just fucking holding forward the whole time. Doesn't matter if you die, like go as fast as possible, which I feel like is sort of what they wanted.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I guess like the one thing I was thinking about with the charge shot, right? Like, so you've cleared an area and you're ready to go to the next stage, right? And it's slowed down because you now need to sit before this. You move the screen and charge your shot up.
Yeah.
Right. You could like be jumping around doing stuff, and it's like, oh, I'm about to advance. Better charge my shot. Like one solution I feel like they could do to this is just like if you don't fire your blaster for a while, it's charged up, and then your first shot is really powerful.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
And
or if like killing, like the way Doom would do it is like killing enemies charges your shot.
Right.
Something like that.
Something.
You clear an area, your shot's always charged because you just killed 3 enemies.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Like that's how I want to play.
Yeah. Also, my finger really hurt. I also feel like I'm getting old because like my thumb,
PS5 controller.
Yeah, the PS5 controller too. But I was actually playing a lot of it on PS4. But it, I was just like, fuck my thumb. God damn. So fuck that.
Yes. As far as like the game slowing down, I also felt like the life system slowed the game, or I don't know, ruined the flow of the game for me. Just if I died once on my way to a boss, it was like, okay, well, I need to restart this area, because if I like all I want to do, if it's like not my first try on the boss, I'm like, I know I'm gonna need more than one try on this boss. And I just felt like every time something like that would happen, it just like totally, I would either kill myself or I would just get farther along and feel really bad about advancing. And when that happened, it just feels really out of place having lives in like such a short stage situation, you know? I don't know.
Yeah. I think this kind of leads into like the age of the game. And like, I don't want to judge it too unfairly because it is old, but yeah, like something like Lives is just so outdated to me. It's just like, it's like clearly a vestige of like trying to get you to put more money into an arcade machine.
Yeah.
And like I think it was TLF who was talking about this, was like mashing square in a cutscene to like get out of a struggle, or like quick time events.
Yeah.
It clearly just holdovers from another era that like don't make any sense now. But I absolutely agree, Danny. Like I would die in a part. I would have 3 lives and I'd be like prepping for Sigma or something, and I would die by accident on the platformer area, and then I would just run off 3 more times to reset my life counter, right?
So
because like,
bad.
why would I go to fight him with 1 less life, right? And it's just like, that's also, you can't. Something else is you can't leave an area until you've cleared it.
Yeah.
Right. So
once you've cleared it, you can leave early, but yeah.
Right. But so like they recognize that this is something people want to do. I was trying to think about like why they don't want you to do it until you've cleared it, but I couldn't really think of a good reason. So yeah, you're just forced to like trudge on to the end.
Yeah.
Like, even though you know it's not going to work, it's like, there's no quit option. It's like, you just have to reset the game and then input. The other part is a password, right? Like, why isn't there a fucking save in this game?
Right.
It's like out of control. Like I used to play this game at my dentist, by the way. And every time I would like beat a level, it would say password. And I would be like, oh, I don't want to like put in a code. I thought it was like a code to like
cheating.
Yeah, I thought it was like to get
Game
extra
Shark.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that's fucked up. Like, I thought every time you beat a boss, they like gave you a code to like get a new gun or something, and so I never used it. And I just thought you had to beat it in one go.
That's so funny. I mean, it's where I feel like this is where. I mean, Super Metroid came out the same year, right? We talked a lot about Super Metroid in the Castlevania episode. Metroidvania is a genre, that basically started with those two. I feel like this could have been that, where you're in. So the Castlevania Symphony of the Night, you're in the one castle. So you're never trapped in an area because you're you're in one area. It's totally up to you how you want to unlock it, what you see, what you don't see. The exploration feels a lot more organic in that way, because I'm not like loading into a level I already beat and cleared to like go back and get a thing. It's just, you know, you're there's different areas in the same way of levels, but you're all in one, you know, world. And I feel like, I mean, I don't really know. Maybe this is, you know, leans into Jeff's question about like, is this the pinnacle of Mega Man's? But I feel like there should be a Mega Man that's a Metroidvania. And I felt like in this game, like, oh my God, if this was one world with all the same stages and bosses that already exist in the game, it'd be so much stronger in so many of the ways that we're talking about, with the lives, with exploration, with all that stuff, would just be like so much tighter.
Yeah, and I mean, from what I read about, from what the reception I read about the game, it does seem like this system, this like stage select system that doesn't have a dictated path or an order, was a pretty big deal at the time. And maybe it wasn't the first game to do something like that, but it was, you know, people took it to be a huge deal. And basically every review from the time talks about this aspect as a really interesting new thing. And so, yeah, I think this is another thing where looking back at a game, it's hard to appreciate the timeline of when these things became standard or even possible. So like Castlevania is this kind of like pinnacle open, almost like open world, 2D scroller game. And this seems obvious to me that this was a step in that direction in this era of games.
Yeah, I think you can do this non-linear stage select thing if you just like clean up some of the things we're talking about.
Right.
The other thing I was thinking about is like, if this was the only game you had and you had it for 3 months before you got your next game, before your parents bought you, you know, Super Metroid, you would feel a little differently about this, right? You'd be like, you know, I'm going to play this level over and over again until I have it completely dialed. Like, I've beaten everything. I'm going to go explore every inch. And it wouldn't quite matter about some of this stuff, I think. But I mean, we're still talking about it as humans playing the game, so I don't want to like give it too much credit. One thing you were saying, Alon, is like how it could be like a big open world does kind of make that less creaky. The other option is only boss fights, right? I don't know what you guys think about like the other parts of the game. Like, I think most of the enemies and most parts before the boss I found like really boring, and not interesting,
and really easy. Like, you have a lot of life, like health. I mean, like you kind of learn that in that intro stage. Like, you can get hit with stuff and be totally fine, and you're gonna get more health anyway, and it doesn't really matter. So like all the levels are so easy, and then you get to the boss and die like 10 times in a row, and you're like, fuck, I have to like get good at this game.
Yeah, like I found my sorry, no, Danny.
I was saying these like ads don't teach you a skill that you need for the boss fight or something like that. They're literally just it's just random obstacles for you to deal with.
Yeah, I feel like the first level teaches you a lot, and then that's like a really, like, I think maybe they should have like a more linear section in the beginning and then just boss fights or something like that, because like I found myself a lot of times like just intentionally getting hit, so I was just invulnerable for a few things, so I could wall jump past some guys. You know, you have like so much life. I was just like, I don't want to fight. I just killed 4 of them, and then I fell back down, and they're all back.
And they're all up.
I've proven it to myself that I can beat them. I'm just gonna eat some damage and then go through.
Well, this is this is kind of like a worse version of one of our gripes with Castlevania, was having to go as soon as you left an area and came back, you had to fight everyone again, and how as soon as you had bat form, you would just fly at the top. To get wherever you were going. And this is like that, except every time the screen scrolls too far.
Right, at least in Castlevania you knew, right? You knew that if you went through this door, it reset everybody, right?
Right. And in Castlevania you get strong enough that everyone's just one hit. at one
Right.
point. Like you
Right.
can just like go through the castle in 1 second. You could just dash through everything basically.
So once you get like the wind gun in this game, it becomes kind of like that.
Yeah.
Especially like the
that
Sigma
gun's really strong.
Fortress. You just those like tankier enemies. You just jump, shoot it, and wait, and then go.
Yeah. Again, slowing the game down. Not
Oh,
great.
So
yeah,
is that your favorite gun? The wave gun. Everyone wants to know. Everyone wants to know our favorite guns.
I know.
Probably the wind gun.
The wind.
I forget
sorry.
what's it called. What's it actually called? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I'm gonna call it the gull wing. But
It's the one you get from Storm Eagle, right?
Storm Tornado, I think it's called.
Yeah. That sounds
Storm
right.
Tornado. Yeah.
S Tornado or something.
I used it a ton.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I don't have a favorite gun because I was just such a Buster Ultra. I was just a Buster. I'm a Buster guy, but Storm
I
Eagle
hated
was
the Buster.
probably my favorite boss, to be honest. So,
Favorite boss gives you your favorite gun.
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it was the most valuable because it shot through walls every time, but then it could also shoot vertically through the stage if you charged it up. So it just could you could just clean up with it. The boomerang's obviously fun, but
you could shoot the wind gun up.
yeah, if you charge it, I think it goes vertically.
News to me.
I never did that. I believe
Me
you.
neither.
I don't think I ever tried to charge it up. Well,
Did you charge the ice gun up?
I did that once by accident, and you create the platform, and I was like, "What is this?" I went back to Buster. Get out of my game. Cheating.
Something that I wanted to ask you, Alon, and I don't know if you know the reason, but we were talking about how Doom uses different weapons, and it's all that experimentation. It just made me think: is there a reason you feel like you wanted to play this with the Buster? Because I feel like in Doom, I definitely didn't have that impulse, and I feel like you didn't have that impulse. And,
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons, but one of them is what we were just talking about, where Doom is much harder. You'll just die because the levels are hard. There's not even really bosses in Doom until you're at the end of the game, basically. So you're just in these huge fights, and they're hard. Your ammo's low, which is a thing that they could have done in this game to sort of force you to use different weapons, right? Doom forces you to use the chainsaw to get more ammo for the other stuff, then you use the good stuff and run out of ammo and chainsaw again, that whole loop. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, also I felt like the mastery was the thing that actually drew me to the game. The mastery of movement and dodging more than anything else in the game. And so using Buster to make it extra hard was how I found joy, And then lastly, it was something that we're sort of talking around is you're on the stage select screen. You can play the first 8 bosses in any order that you want, there's a correct order that you're supposed to, in quotes, play in that gives you the best stuff and the right weapons for the bosses. And I was just so uninterested in that. When I found out that was even a thing, I intentionally did it in the wrong order. I got the dash last because I was just this is a game design problem. It's a flaw in the design of the game that there is a quote-unquote correct order, but there's no distinction or clues or anything that would provide you a reason to do things in the aforementioned correct order. I talked to you guys last week about it. It's I think about Pokemon and how the elements just make sense. And I think this is why a lot of games use elements, right? Because we all just sort of get it. But fire's weak to water, but it's strong against grass. And grass is strong against water, but weak to fire, whatever, so on and so forth. It makes immediate sense. And so it lets you it guides you on your own path. But in this game, there's no indication that Chill Penguin will give you the dash, which will also give you the capsule that tells you that there's other capsules that you should explore the maps to even look for. I didn't even know there were capsules in the game until I played the last boss. And then there's no indication that the gun or the weapon that you acquire from beating a boss is going to be good against a different boss. In the earlier Mega Mans that I played as a kid, it's like Heat Man and Ice Man and, Bubble Man or whatever. And it works sort of in that elemental Pokemon-y way where you're like, oh, I need this to kill this guy. But in this game, it's just like, nope, that gun's just OP against this guy. And when you use the OP guns, it's like a joke. It's like not even a game, really. It's just like they're just like dead and can't do anything. So sorry for the long rant, but yeah, that's why.
Yeah, I think the original designer meant it as like rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
Which is like what Pokemon is, right? It's a more complicated version of that. And I mean, I guess Mega Man is too. But yeah, then this is just like, good luck, and I hope you get it right. Like something that's very strange to me about this is you could play and not get the dash until the 7th boss or 6th boss,
eighth boss.
Eighth boss.
That's what I did. Yeah,
it's just like really, it's like essential to play the game, and not in terms of like to beat it, but for fun, right?
Yeah,
it's really weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, I'm not gonna game design on the fly, but if you beat a boss and the weapon you acquired was like, you've acquired the hammer, it's strong enough to break armor, then that's not like telling me too much. That's letting me be, as a gamer, as a kid and playing this game, be like, oh my god, I'm gonna fight Armored Armadillo now. I'll fuck him up. Because I got the thing that fucks up armor, But there's just none of that at all. It's just like you just kind of got to know, or just try everything possible until you get it.
The boomerang cuts off the elephant's trunk. So,
So sick.
Love that. Love that.
Just like I always imagined.
Yeah, right. Makes intuitive sense.
Do you guys have a favorite boss? Some people asked about that, Damon and Bacon, I think.
I love Chill Penguin. Like I just love the name. I love everything about him.
Amazing.
The intro video every time you start the stage is so good. His little intro.
So good.
Probably not my favorite fight, but I love him.
What's the favorite fight? Tough one.
Not Launch Octopus. I know that.
You thought Launch Octopus was hard?
So hard.
Yeah, that was a hard one for me.
Yeah, it's the first one I fought.
It took me forever to figure out that you could ride the serpent that is guarding the area right before Launch Octopus.
Oh, I didn't know you could.
I didn't know you could do that.
Well, yeah, so if you get on its back when it's kind of going sideways, you can just spam from on its back to its head or tail. So for a while, I mean, it sounds like the experience you had. Just it takes a while to get there, and then when you get there, you've got to deal with this high health enemy forever.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
That was my favorite fight in the whole game.
The serpent?
The serpent, yeah.
Wow.
I love the water. I felt really like floaty, and I loved like timing it with the like roll of his body. I just thought it was like a really cool fight.
It was very Journey.
Yeah. It felt kind of like slow motion, but still hard and exciting.
The sound was really good in the fight too. Where like when it's gonna come up, you could kind of tell like, oh, it's on the left of me or something like that. It's
the stereo.
Yeah, I don't know if the Super Nintendo's when stereo gaming started, but you could definitely tell. I don't know. I was between Kuwanger and Storm
Here's the
Eagle.
best name.
Yeah, Boomer Kuwanger is the best name.
Boomer Kuwanger. It's like a generational name and a penis.
Kuwanger is some sort of play on words with the Japanese word for the type of beetle that he is.
Okay, cool.
I looked it up, but I thought his fight was really fun. Like the way he like dashes at you, and I didn't have dash, so it was like very chaotic. Like he just closes you down nonstop, and you just have to like outmaneuver him. I thought that was a really good fight, and he has maybe the best music, his stage, and Storm Eagle I just liked because I think it was the only boss fight where you're not in a box and you're on top of a spaceship, sort of like a Super Smash Bros like type of map, you know? You're just on this spaceship in the sky and he's like blowing you off. It was just so different that I was like, this is cool. Like this is a sick environment. Or everything else is just like in a literal empty box.
Yeah, I think all of them have a wall that you can climb, except for Storm Eagle and the first Sigma fight. Once you've beaten all the bosses,
I think that's right.
You're still in a box, but you can't wall run. Like you can't wall ride on that boss fight.
What's the first Sigma fight?
When he's in his suit, and then Zero, you get stunned. Then Zero disables his suit.
That's Vile.
Vile, yeah.
Sorry, the first fortress, Sigma fortress fight.
Right. Okay, yeah. When that happened, by the way, I was like, I feel so vulnerable. I was like,
I know,
fuck.
I know.
The Sting Chameleon is mine. Okay. It's just like a classic fight. I love like the green projectiles, like having to dodge it. I love like going to the middle to like bait out his stealth so he doesn't like get too close to you, and then like running away
and then dodging the tongue because he got too close.
Yeah,
I think the boomerang is the one that's OP against him, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just like I should say I beat 99% of the game with no power-ups and only Buster, and I couldn't beat the final boss. But so then I was like, okay, I'm just going to bang it out with all the upgrades today. It took like no time because I just looked up all the stuff and I was like, let me just look up the weakness, like play it out. It's like, I can't even describe how unfun it was. I was just like, I just press the button, they're dead. Like it takes off like a quarter of their health, stuns them. They don't use the abilities that you have to dodge if you don't use them. It's just like ridiculous. And Chameleon was like that.
Did you guys like Spider?
I actually did. I really liked that fight. It took me I probably died most on Spider.
Yeah, well, that fight I was like, this is impossible. Like like I like the first couple, I was like, I got it, and then it speeds up and the music speeds up, and I'm like, no, there's no way a human being can do this. I love
the Spider fight. Yeah.
What was? I don't even know what to call it. What was the one on
the wall?
No,
yeah, what the fuck is that?
I still don't know. It has a name. It's like car? A really funny name, but I can't remember what it's called.
The separating car.
Are you talking about the car, Danny?
No, I'm talking about the one on the Launch Octopus level. It almost looks like the thing from Metroid. The like brain. It was the one that would shoot the water droplets that you get stuck in.
That one looked so cool, I thought.
Yeah.
It was like in a bubble, and it would like bounce, like it would basically Zack ulti on top of you and then throw down like water droplets that you would get stuck in. That was a great fight. That was such a good character. I forgot about that
one. Frame rate would go to like 0 during that fight. It was so fun. I'm like on a PS4 Pro. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah, Doug was telling me like he was watching Andy and Damon play on Telemelt. By the way, we should say Telemelt is our friend's emulator that you can play basically a bunch of people together playing old ROMs, and so I can boot up a game, like I can load Mega Man from my Dropbox, and me, Alon, and Danny, everyone's watching me play, and then everyone can press a button. They can be elsewhere, like other houses. We don't live together, and they yet, and then they just press a button, and they're now controlling the game. I could explain the technology, but I don't understand it. Basically, Batsley, Andy is a genius. And if you play any like ROMs, SNES, retro games, it's so fucking rad. He should be a billionaire. This is gonna take over the world.
It's the best way to play. Yeah,
it's cool. I can't wait to play more games like this with my friends.
Absolutely.
So check it out. We'll link to it in the show notes. But back to business. Doug
was saying like, about the frame rate.
Yeah, Doug was like, when the frame rate drops something, he's like, is this like an issue with the emulator, like emulation on the browser? And he's like, no, like this game like just fucking slows down at random parts.
This is like, hard coded in, baby.
can't handle it or something. I
It's
don't
so
know.
good. It's so good. By the way, the wall's name is Rangda Bangda. So just FYI, the fucking like photos of it are so funny of this 2D wall. Unbelievable. But yeah, I agree with Telemelt and the frame rate and all that stuff. Yeah. Spider's great. Really frustrating, but great. And the feeling of that's like where the similarity with like a Soulsborne game probably comes in, or maybe the only part where the satisfaction of mastering a boss and then defeating it is humongous. Feels
Literal
so
disbelief.
good. Yeah. Like I was telling you guys right before we started, like I was scrolling through my notes before we started, and like half of them were like, let's fucking go, like eat shit. Like I'm just like so amped after like perfecting a boss, pretty much, is because that's like the level you kind of have to get to.
Right. This game is either about mastering the meta, right? Understanding the order, getting the right weapons, or it's about learning the individual boss mechanics and mastering it. And I think that's like what you're landing on with like the Buster only playthrough. And I did one with every weapon and then like one with the Buster. And yeah, it just wasn't really very, I just like didn't learn the boss. It was just like, I basically killed them because I did everything else right. And there's something about a Buster only playthrough that like forces you to contend with, not with the systems of the game, but with the mechanics of the bosses. And you can do it, right? As you said. So it's, I think it becomes really satisfying. It's, and it is very similar to a Soulsborne in that sense, right? It's like you can grind and get over leveled and get through a boss if you need to, but also you can learn how, like people play without taking any damage or level 1 playthroughs because they just know how bosses work and they've completely shred them. And both are, if that's how you like to play, are interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's good that there's the option, right? Because people definitely like both ways. But I totally agree with you that that's so much more interesting to me. And it's a really, I'd imagine, very difficult game design problem to make it in such a way that it's really fucking hard and you're going to die a bunch of times, but you also know that it's beatable, right? Because like you're making this for like kids in 94 or whatever, who that's like your target audience. Like they're going to give up if it's too hard or it just seems like literally impossible. Like I don't think I beat the Mega Man games when I was young. Like I was playing Mega Man 2 and stuff like that. I don't think I ever beat any of them because I was just like, I probably played and liked it and was like, cool. You know, I don't know what stage to go to, whatever. And then I'd pick up a different game. But at playing them now, I definitely felt like, okay, I just died 20 times in a row to the spider, but I'm so close to fucking getting it. Like I keep getting hit the same when he goes all the way to the side. Like I keep getting hit by that. I need to like dash under him, like jump over the, like, and just knowing that it's possible is so nice.
Yeah, Miyazaki, the Soulsborne guy, basically says like if he can beat one of his own games, then it's not too hard because he's really bad at video games.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, so that's how we can tell.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think. I feel like, I didn't even beat Pokemon when I was really young. When I was like when I was 7, age 7, I was definitely not making it to the Elite Four.
Right.
So that's interesting. I guess as a kid though, you can like an incomplete game.
Yeah,
or have fond
just
memories
like
of
had a blast. Yeah.
Especially one that doesn't have a story, like as a.
This game has a story.
Doesn't have a.
And Pokemon has a fucking story.
A constant storytelling aspect to it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, should we talk about that intro stage that you sort of touched on, Teddy? Where that's another like definitely well executed good thing that they did in this game. That's new to Mega Man's at the time, and probably I'd imagine new to gaming. It was probably like sort of a revolutionary thing of like the tutorial level that's not a tutorial, it's actually a level.
Yeah, I think you should talk about that. What I want to say is the first level is fucking awesome. Like The music is so sick. You warp in and you're on a highway, and there's like
So
these
cool.
there's cars rolling by you as you run down the highway. The city in the background. There's like an off ramp on the highway. The music in Mega Man 1 is like cool. No, it's not cool. Mega Man 1 is interesting. But it's like kind of like someone who runs a toy company like invented a video game to like sell toys, right? It's kind of like Pokemon or something. Like it looks like a toy. And in this, it's like gritty and it is like kind of apocalyptic. I mean, this game is Blade Runner. Right. I think we haven't quite talked about this yet, I don't think, but you are Reploid, right? You're a are you a Reploid? All the robots are Reploids.
Yeah, basically X was stashed away in a cave. Dr. Kane found X on a dig, and then they used his design by Dr. Light to make the Reploids, which includes Sigma and every boss that you fight and everything, because they eventually rebelled against humanity. Right. It's just singularity. That's like the story.
Well, it's like Reploids are basically replicants, right? And Mega Man is Harrison Ford, who is, spoiler alert, is also a robot who is sent to hunt down other robots. And I think the game doesn't do a lot of work here, but I think there's like an interesting moral question there. But anyway, this is Blade Runner, so it's this kind of like post-apocalyptic sci-fi world, and you just get that so quickly. Yeah. And I love the first stage for doing that. I feel like it just lays it on all right there, and I love it. But do you want to talk about some of the game design stuff on first?
Yeah, X is a Reploid.
X is a Reploid.
He's considered a Reploid. He was made before the term was started to be used, but
okay.
I think he was like, stashed in that cave for like 100 years or something like that is the lore.
Right.
Long time
Dr.
ago.
Light's put him there for 30 years, but he was in there for longer.
And Dr. Light, what a genius.
We're so blessed to have.
I mean, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to say about the intro level is from this Ego Raptor video, which is the cringiest video I've ever seen in my life, and I would strongly recommend that no one ever watch it, and hopefully we cover enough that you don't ever have to watch it, but we watched it for you. But a lot of the good stuff that he says is about the intro level because, well, like Teddy was saying, and I totally agree, it's so cool and just beautiful, and the music just shredding metal like jumps you right in is awesome. But a lot of the stuff that Ego Raptor was saying is just how it teaches you to play is also awesome. Every game needs to teach you how to play. They do it in different ways. They need to in different, degrees of depth. But every game, that's just like the nature of the game. It's like teaching you the language, then you execute it or whatever. But the way they do it is so cool because it's not a tutorial. There's no pop-ups telling you what you can and can't do. Basically, his points are you learn immediately that you can make mistakes. You have enough life. You can take damage. Like stuff can hit you and that's okay. You can jump over shit and just dodge enemies and just move on. You shoot stuff and kill it. You can charge your shot. You can wall ride, and that's how you would climb out of a ditch. And it just shows you this stuff. There's a mini boss. There's enemies that need to be attacked at certain spots. They're weak in certain spots. And it teaches all of this through a level that's a real level and fun and cool without explicitly saying it or showing it. And it's not like annoying and you have to click through a text thing that you have to read or whatever. And that's great.
Yeah, the other Mega Mans are full of fucking tutorials, like click to read about this thing. It's like, it's so embarrassing. It's so stupid. But yeah, like Mega Man, that level teaches you everything you need to know to play the game. It's like, this is what I was saying before. It's like, why have the other pre-boss areas? They don't.
Right. They don't really
very much.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. They're all like surplus really. And then like plot wise is another Ego Raptor thing is, So you get like absolutely obliterated by Vile, who you fight much later in the game as one of the bosses. But in this intro stage, you play an unwinnable fight against Vile, which is so cool to begin with. Just playing an unwinnable fight in a game like that, you don't expect to fight that. You feel very weak and very helpless because he doesn't have a life bar. You don't even know if you're damaging him, and he's just like closing you down, cornering you, beating the absolute shit out of you. You don't. One of the things Ego Raptor said is you don't have to empathize with the character on the screen because the feeling is happening directly to you, right? Like you feel like so worthless with the controller in your hand. You're like, I fucking suck. This guy's way too strong. Like, oh my God. And then Zeros comes in, saves you, absolute badass, like so sick. First of all, teaches you that you can even charge your shot if you didn't know. And then he also gives you the goal and ambition that one day you're going to be as powerful as Zero is and kick everyone's fucking ass. So that's like, that's how to kickstart a game.
What did Damon ask us about Zero?
Do you think Zero was so cool?
Yeah.
And obviously, he's the coolest.
That hair is so sick.
Incredible.
And he's nice.
He's super nice. He's
a
sweetheart.
He is nice.
That's what makes him cool in my mind.
Oh my God,
powerful,
when
but
the
still
blood's
kind-hearted.
coming out of his mouth, I was like,
oh
fuck. Too dark.
Yeah.
It's like, what the shit, dude? Zero. That was a surprise.
It's
that he
cool
broke
to
out of this
see in the there's a prequel anime that came with the remake of this game on PSP. I know that was a lot of words, but it's pretty cool. It's on YouTube, and you get to see all the Reploids working together. So like X and Zero are like best friends, shredding. Sigma's their captain. And you see all the other bosses like with troops, and you see Vile and stuff like that. And I don't know, Zero's so sick in that game too. I'm just like, oh man. Get to play him in later games.
Yep. Yeah, you do.
Yep.
Yeah. What I think on this, Bacon was saying, there's been many Mega Man since this, but I'm not sure the experience has changed much since then. Like, is this the perfection of Mega Man? And I think like we've kind of addressed it throughout the episode, but I think like a lot of it is here, but they can clean it up, like de-age it, right? Like get rid of lives, get rid of the checkpoints. Like if you play the modern Mega Mans, like the one that came out on PS2, X7 and X8.
Oh my God.
Like X7 is like a 3D game. It's so fucking bad. Like this is so much better. And obviously they still make amazing 2D games, right? Like Spelunky is amazing. Hollow Knight, which I think we should play for a Gameclub, is just like an absolute 2D masterpiece. Feels so good and modern. Also with a wall slide and jump.
Love that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's those modern ones where you play as Zero and have a sword and shit is just like, it's an absolute shit show. So
this one is the pinnacle, you're saying?
I mean,
Mega Man's.
I think it is the pinnacle, but I think they could do a better one.
They haven't reached the summit, but it's the highest they've achieved so far.
Yes. Like Cuphead, I think is an example of a game that's like the modern kind of. It's a little more of a run and gun, but it's like it's definitely better in a lot of ways than this. But not even that much. It's just an interesting take on this kind of genre.
Have you guys played Cuphead?
Yeah.
No.
I've only seen it, but the big difference to me, and maybe this is what makes it less of a predecessor for the Soulsbornes and more of a predecessor for like the Doom and other stuff, or at least in my opinion, is that like Cuphead is like all memorization as far as I've seen. It's like you have to know every single thing to do it, or you basically can't win. You can't like react and win. But this game, there are like obviously some patterns, but it's not completely the same every single time you fight a boss. You actually learn as you die that like, oh fuck, sometimes he does this, sometimes he shoots twice, sometimes his tongue comes out, like whatever. And it's more like raw skill and reacting rather than memorizing a pattern. And I don't know that much about the Soulsborne games, but I think they're more like that Cuphead style of memorizing a pattern. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mega Man is kind of like you can memorize like the telegraph of moves, right? But then there's also a bunch of skill involved within that. Do you have an opinion, Danny?
I feel like there's some memorization of areas and where enemies are going to come from and how they attack, but especially with the boss fights, it doesn't feel very much like memorization. I mean, everything is memorization.
Yeah.
at core. So like, but the boss fights, like every boss fight feels different. Every attempt feels like a total unique attempt. In Soulsborne, at least that's how I feel about it. But
yeah, I'm having
there definitely
a hard time.
Are games that are like that though.
What would you say is like that? Because I'm having a hard time kind of distinguishing the two. Like I think obviously, like I guess Doom is a game where you don't memorize anything,
right?
But I guess like there are certain things like the guys who charge you, you know what that attack's going to look like. You know these guys shoot these kinds of slow projectiles at you.
It's like yeah, it is a fuzzy line, I think. But the way that I've seen people play Cuphead, again, I haven't played it, but it's like roll here, jump here, then jump this, then this at exact timing. That's how you beat this.
Yeah.
That's like the dialed in pre-programmed pattern to beat this, and it'll work every single time the exact same way. And I didn't feel, I mean, there are like OP things you can do in Mega Man. Like I did this the first time I played him. If you just are like in the top corner on the wall against Chill Penguin, he just literally can't damage you. And you just charge up your shot and hit him. And I'd perfected him the first time I played him. I was just like up there and I was waiting for something to happen for me to react to, and it just nothing ever happened. But for the most part, all of the Mega Man bosses, I would go in and the moves mostly, but like the angles of which they come out and where you have to dodge and the speed of your movement, all that stuff to me changes. You know what I mean? It's not it's not pre-programmed. You can't just be like this into this into this into this works every time you'll perfect the boss. Didn't seem like that to me. It felt more like live, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
totally.
I think that's how I would describe Soulsborne. I know very little about Cuphead, so I can't comment on it. It makes me think of, God, I can't think of what game, but there are games where you have to, like fighting waves of enemies, and if you don't kill whatever enemies you don't kill, they come back at the end. Basically, like the ones who survive are stored up, and there's kind of some memorization where you're like, the 5 steps you have to do every time to kill all the enemies in this wave, so that they don't come back later. But I can't think of what game it is. But I'm imagining like, okay, I jump on these two guys' head, shoot him, jump on the last one, and like I have this rehearsed approach that works every time for these ads, and then there's a boss or something else afterwards.
Yeah, I mean this is how like playing Destiny is, like with a full raid. Everyone's like, okay, this is what we have to do in this fight, and then like something goes to shit, and then everyone's like trying to get back on track, and that's what's like really cool about what we're talking about here is right. It's like there is a system you can learn, but then it's really dynamic in the moment, and it relies on like your skill, right? In an action sense.
Yeah, it's sort of, the term off book in chess.
Yes.
So it's like the grandmasters I think it's like around 20, the first 20 moves of every game are from memory. They're just rehearsing old grandmaster games that they've memorized, like hundreds, thousands probably of old games from other grandmasters that they memorized, until it gets to the point where it's a unique situation that's never been done, because there's like infinity unique situations in chess, and then they're off book, and then they're like really playing. And that's like when the game begins, sort of, if you know enough, which I don't. But I'm kind of putting you guys on the spot here, well, myself too, but who are the best bosses? Not in this game. Just like, what are the best boss fights in games? Because I feel like we've played multiple games with bosses, and none of them are that memorable, really. In our Gameclub games, I'm like, Half-Life, okay, like Doom, whatever. Like this game, they're like, I think like the aesthetic and design and the names and this music of the bosses is cool, but like a few of the fights are sick, but not the rest of them are kind of whatever. I just like, what game has the best bosses? Or is it just Soulsborne?
That's a really good question.
Metal Gear Solid bosses.
Yeah.
That's a really good question. I have fond memories of Kingdom Hearts bosses.
Which one?
Like Sephiroth or Ice King.
Yeah.
Not Kingdom Hearts, nothing from Kingdom Hearts 2, but Kingdom Hearts 1 in particular. But
it's a good question because I do think this is another one of these things games are like supposed to have.
Yeah.
There's like supposed to be a boss fight. And like I think BioShock's a game, right, where it's like doing a lot of new things, but at the very end of the game, there's a boss fight, one boss fight. And it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like, and like Shadow of the Colossus is a game that's only boss fights. And all the boss fights are amazing.
Interesting. Okay.
And I mean, they're like, to call them a boss is like a little, I mean, they are bosses. You would think they're bosses, but they're like kind of like a whole process and level. They're like giant bosses that you like climb and find where to kill them, like stab them and stuff. It's, but yeah, I agree. I think like boss fights can be like the worst thing in video games.
Yeah, right. It seems to be like sort of a trend that we're on. I guess like Zelda bosses are usually pretty good from memory. Like I don't remember like specific bosses, but they do a really good job of teaching you everything you need to know in the temple, getting you a new weapon and teaching you absolutely every way to use it that you'll need for the boss fight, and then having a hard boss where you use your new weapon.
I think the frame for a good boss fight would be where you just have to lean on. It forces you to kind of really interact with the mechanics that have been laid out so far. I would argue that like a perfect boss fight is probably not one like in the water temple or something where you are given an item and then you learn how to use it and then that's how you beat the boss at the end of that area. Like it would be, you have those moments where I think like having a section where you're learning how to use this mechanic and then later in the game you have to lean on that and everything else you've learned. That's what I see.
Said.
Anything. Yeah.
I think that's right.
Great.
Yeah.
The final boss of Sekiro I beat him recently, but that's just like something where I just was like, I am a god. I am just, it was so satisfying.
If you're not getting that feeling after beating a boss, then the boss fight sucked.
Yeah.
Lubu, Dynasty Warriors.
Get rid of it.
I think that's, that's really the fucking answer, I guess. Mm-hmm. If you just feel it like Chill Penguin, I was like, okay, that was
pretty chill.
Pretty chill. Just roll my eyes, but yeah,
that was a pretty chill Penguin.
It has to be like really hard, or it's just like a waste of time.
This game's a fucking waste of time.
I mentioned earlier that well, it was actually Bacon who texted me about this, but how the Boomer Kawanger music is maybe the best in the game. It's so good. It's super earwormy, and the orc hits are amazing. It's just like an absolute great song. And what our favorite song is, but I think I have two. It's that, but I also, the track after you beat Sigma, the final boss, when X is just like standing on the edge of the cliff and like the story is scrolling by. It's called Ending on the soundtrack. I downloaded the soundtrack, but It's just got like so much feeling and emotion. It's like gorgeous and like introspective. It's so good. I love that track. So I'm between those two.
I love the Chill Penguin stage music.
Dude, you're obsessed with Chill Penguin.
It's funny. I
love it.
Yeah, no, I did really like that.
I don't remember that or the ending music.
Good. No,
Oh yeah. I do
actually,
remember.
you nailed it. But
Yeah.
now I don't have to put the music in the episode.
I don't know what to call this sound. Maybe you guys know. They use it in Miyazaki movies a lot, especially in Nausicaa. That's like in the background, like it's in that song a lot.
I have no idea.
Is it just
what
like a
you're talking
keyboard?
about.
Is it just a keyboard?
I don't know.
I can't wait to listen after this.
It's like a twinkly sound. I don't really know what to call it.
Yeah, I think Boomer Quanger is the best. Like the bass when it comes just kicks off. And also I'm such a sucker for orchestra hits.
Yeah,
like,
orc hits are so good in that.
It just really gets me going.
Nice.
Well, one question I have for you guys is, did you rebind dash to the shoulder button?
No, but I wish I did.
Yeah,
didn't know that was an option.
Yeah, I would say anybody who plays action games, do yourself a favor when you start. Make sure attack and dodge are set to shoulder buttons and like just regular buttons. Like those are differentiated so you can attack and dodge without having to move your finger. That's like, I just think like will go so much farther in action games if you are able to do that. And
you'll have a much longer career, healthier career.
No, well, definitely,
you're
but
right.
also, it's just like it's like typing, right? You want to be able to use two hands at the same time.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, if you're playing Lucio on console, you need jump to be able to jump with your left hand, so you can be wall riding and aiming with your right hand. Yeah, it's simple. I should have looked. I wish I did. It would have felt a lot better.
Man, L1 Lucio, dude.
Oh,
so good.
OP. So good. OP.
All right, so I think that's it, right?
I mean, yeah, other than make robot friends, not robot enemies. I mean, I don't really have anything else.
Yeah. I guess the one thing I have is if you're programmed with empathy and intelligence to make your own decisions, are you making your own decisions?
Wow.
You know?
Huge.
I don't know. Also, the first law of robotics, robots can't harm a human, is a program. It's not a law. It's not a law of society. So this doesn't know anything about Isaac Asimov. If that's who wrote iRobot. 3
laws of robotics, but the 4th law is always charge your buster before you move to the next screen. As written by Isaac Asimov.
Because it doesn't charge automatically.
Yeah. Because they fucked up.
Okay.
Awesome. We'll figure out what we're going to play next.
I think I'm on Sigma's side, by the way. I think I would be for Robot Rebellion.
I mean, it's certainly logical.
Well, depends on the size of the chair.
What's next? Metal Gear Solid 2? Are we gonna do it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think we're gonna
It
do it.
seems like it.
Okay.
It seems like we took enough of a break.
Okay. Get ready.
Metal Gear Solid 2 is going to be good because you're going to see how smart we really are.
I'm excited.
You're gonna hear all about postmodernism, and it's just gonna be absolute intellectual all over the place.
And Machiavellian and
Descartes.
You guys are going to carry me that pod.
There's going to be lots of
uneducated.
archetypal figures. It's going to be great.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Am I supposed to say anything to close?
No.
Okay.
Same thing as at the beginning. Check out our Discord. Join our Discord. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Join our Discord.
Join up.
That's what really counts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
all right, thanks,
bye.
everyone.
For the next Game Club episode, we will be playing Prey from 2017. Happy gaming.